Welcome back to episode 113 of Podcast Royal. I am your host, Rachel.
And I'm your host, Jessica.
And we are going all over the world today with these royals of ours, from the UK to Scotland, which I guess is a part of the UK, but I'm talking about England to Scotland to Kenya to Singapore to Denmark to Canada, all in this episode. Sounds exhausting, but we're going to have fun with it. So, how are you?
I am great. If you're in the US, we had daylight savings time happen in our state, at least. I know not every state does it now, but it is like really, really dark before 5 o'clock now here.
I don't like that.
So we are having our recording sessions are in their cozy season right now, but the weather
Cozy
is
season.
beautiful.
That's
I
cute.
had a great, relaxing, very low-key weekend. Everything's great. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good. So you know what? We recorded last week on Halloween, and neither of us ever got a trick or treater. So
Oh,
that's good. I guess it would have interrupted the recording, but I am in Missouri at the moment visiting some dear friends, and I will be here until tomorrow. And then I'm off to Kansas City, which is where a lot of my family lives. So I've moved from the South, which is where I live normally, to the Midwest. Well, I'm in the Boot Hill of Missouri right now. So technically, I think they might call themselves the South. But anyway, it's good to be here. It's good to be around chosen family as well as birth family. And just very lucky to have the people that I do in my life.
awesome. And we talked about this a minute ago, but you're going to head back here around Thanksgiving. So
Yep.
we are going to get together and do something festive here.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'll be back in Birmingham because that is where my lovely mother lives. I know she's listening. And so I will definitely be back in Birmingham in plenty of time for Thanksgiving, which is coming up. That's in like two weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days.
I know I'm already trying to figure out what I'm going to make for Thanksgiving. I always go back to Georgia and spend it at my parents' house. But I do have a few things that I like to make every year, and then I like to throw in something different every now and then too. But I do have something to admit to everyone. So I normally don't do it this early, but I do actually have my Christmas tree up,
Are
and I
you
will say,
kidding?
so I always wait till after Thanksgiving. But this year I decided, I was here this weekend and, cleaning up and everything. And I thought, well, I could go ahead and put it up and just wait to put the ornaments on.
Mhm.
So it's up, no ornaments, but I will say I did turn the lights on last night and it was kind of
You
nice.
know what? I say that, but last year I love this tree that I got, and it's in storage right now. And it had colored lights and it had white lights. We are majorly digressing right now, and we don't need to because this episode is long enough. But anyway, I put my tree up. I think I put it up on November 15th last year. So I really can't judge. So you know what? I used to be one of those people that was like fastidious. Like, you do not do Christmas before Thanksgiving because you miss Thanksgiving. But you know what?
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, do what makes you happy.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see decorations up at Windsor Castle probably until early December. I think that's when they normally do it.
Mm.
But I figured it's getting dark early here, so may add a few extra twinkles around the house.
You know
So.
what? I love that. Just do what makes you happy, everybody.
Well, as you said, we are going around the world today, so we may as well jump in and get started. We have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Let's kick off the royal rundown with the big event for today. So we had King Charles' official very first state opening of Parliament, and this was quite the event. I mean, it was complete with all the pomp and circumstance. And from looking at the footage and the different images from this event, I felt it was very reminiscent of the coronation. That was
Mhm.
kind of my initial takeaway when I saw the photos. But
Well, we had the imperial state crown, and you're going to talk about Camilla's outfit was a rewear. So there were definitely a lot of elements there.
yeah, so, King Charles, he's 74, and this was his official opening of Parliament for the first time in his role as king. So the day included a procession from Buckingham Palace to the Palace of Westminster with Charles and Camilla both in the Diamond Jubilee state coach. And then we had Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, who she traveled behind them in the state landau. And Princess Anne actually holds the role of Gold Stick in Waiting, kind of a funny title. But this role dates back centuries to when the monarch would actually have protectors at his side for safety. And so that's kind of where that name comes from.
And I know, like you said, that it does have a funny sounding name, but it actually is a really, really big honor.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Although I do think, I mean, petition for a name change if I was given that title.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just it's ancient. So you
Yeah,
don't want to mess
for
you don't
sure.
want to mess with the ancient titles.
So at this event, we saw Charles wearing the Parliament robe of state and the imperial state crown, as you said. And that's why I said this event was very reminiscent of the coronation, because that was the last time we saw him in the imperial state crown. Queen Camilla also rewore her coronation dress. So almost, the same exact look as the coronation, but she also had another very royal accessory at this event today. So we saw her wearing the diamond diadem for the first time. And People magazine actually noted that this crown has been worn by every British queen since King George IV in 1820. So pretty cool piece of history there.
Yeah, and listeners, if this looks especially familiar, it is because Queen Elizabeth wore it often. And the photo of her that was on most UK banknotes and postage stamps featured this piece. So if it looks familiar, that's why. And also, I want to make mention here that the Imperial State Crown weighs 2 pounds. And that might not sound like a lot when you're carrying it in your hands, but when you are balancing it on your head, that's heavy. And there's other crowns that are heavier, but that's a lot. So that's and Charles is 74 years old. I mean, he's fit, relatively fit for a 74-year-old, but that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever tried to balance anything that weighs that much on my head to even know what that might feel like.
And you remember that I think we talked about this around the coronation, but Charles has said that he remembers being a little boy and watching his mom balance not balance the crown on her head, but practice wearing the crown on her head, because that's not something that you can just show up day of. And I mean, I guess you could, but it might not go well and you don't want to be embarrassed like that. So I feel like you have to practice with it on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, Queen Camilla's also been, showcasing some iconic royal jewels in recent weeks, from the diamond diadem that we saw today to the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland crown we talked about. I think it was in last episode. You know, you mentioned the throwback to Queen Elizabeth, and both of these remind us of the late Queen Elizabeth. I mean, she wore both on memorable occasions. We have pictures of her in both of these pieces that have really truly become a part of history. And I do want to mention, so during the procession today, I thought this was interesting. The imperial state crown, the great sword state, and the cap of maintenance process in their very own transportation separate from the king and queen. So they were carried over in the Queen Alexandra's state coach. I thought that was kind of funny.
They get their own coach because they're that important.
So King Charles delivered his much awaited speech, of course, which is known as the King's Speech. And as we've mentioned, the Prince of Wales could not be in attendance for the special occasion today because he is currently in Singapore for the EarthShot Prize Awards, which we'll talk about later. I'm not going to read the full King's speech here because it would be super long, and you can go out there and find it online. But this was the first time the speech has been given by a king and not a queen in over 70 years. I actually think he mentioned that at the beginning of the speech. And a few items that he mentioned included tackling anti-Semitism, lowering inflation and the cost of living, tougher sentencing for terrorism and illegal migration, investing in renewable energy sources, focusing on high-quality education for young people, addressing climate change, ensuring the safe development of artificial intelligence, and creating a smoke-free generation by restricting the marketing of e-cigarettes to children. So, I mean, there's a lot covered in the speech today. I mean, that was just a snippet of some of the items he went over. But really interesting. If you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend going out there and taking a look.
Yeah, it's worth the watch. I mean, it is a part of history because it is the first King's speech, as you said, in 72 years. So that's not a short amount of time.
So I am going to mention, this might be a hot take. I'm not totally sure, but I did not love the rewear of the coronation gown by Queen Camilla. I mean, it's a beautiful dress, but I thought it was sort of similar to our thoughts on that dark Bruce Oldfield gown with the silver embellishments, the one that wasn't your favorite.
Yes.
When we talked about that rewear recently, we said it was too early, right? Like, even whether you like the dress or not, it was just like, we
Yeah.
just saw it not that long ago. So that's kind of how I felt about the coronation dress. I liked the dress, but I felt like it was too early for a rewear. That's just my opinion. It might be a hot take, and I'd love to know what listeners think. But what did you think, Rachel?
Well, I understand what Camilla is doing here. So the monarchy is attempting to be more relatable, basically proving that they need to exist in 2023 or 2024, on and on and on. And in some respects, I think, yes, you should do that. You should be sustainable. You should always be mindful. But this is what I would consider to be a grand event, and we want grand for it, right? And so just how we had grand for the coronation, we'd never seen that before. We want, and Kate was in bespoke McQueen and Charlotte, and it's kind of like, as a royal, when you're doing day-to-day engagements, sure, do rewears, be relatable. But when you're doing the royal thing, like when you got the crowns out, you got the imperial state crown out, you got the diamond diadem out, bring the fancy, really, really go there. Give us the majesty that we came for.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it was a beautiful dress, very meaningful, very special. I just felt like this was another big event, and I would have liked to have seen something different, even if it was a rewear from, an older rewear, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
anyway, listeners, let us know what you think about that. So that was our little recap of Charles' big event today. And now we are going to hop over to the Waleses.
Yeah.
So they are back. Particularly, we're going to talk about Catherine, of course, but the Waleses are back from their autumn break. And I just wanted to mention this fun little outing from last week where we saw the Princess of Wales with a group of super dads. And I'm sure we are all familiar with the Avengers movie. Although I do have to admit, Rachel, I don't think I've actually ever seen one of the
I don't
Avengers
think I
movies.
have either. So I dated a guy over the summer, actually, that was really into, like, the guys are really into this Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm sure women are too. That's just not really my thing. So I finally saw Iron Man. Listeners are probably judging, but I finally saw Iron Man. I think the first Iron Man for the first time. I don't think I've ever seen any of the Avengers. I mean, I think I would remember, but it's just not my cup of tea. All respect. I mean, Iron Man was actually really good. Like, it was a really good movie with Robert Downey Jr., but that's not something that I would watch, like, on my own, probably.
Well, they make so much money when they come out. So I know there's a huge, huge group of people out there that love these movies, and I think there are quite a few of them. But
There's like 67. We counted because we were like, how long is it going to take for, for us to get through this? And then we broke up before we could
so that's
but
the test.
anyway,
Can your
yeah,
relationship
we did.
outlive all of the
We didn't make it
superstars?
through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but anyway, I at least I dipped a toe in there. But yeah, I don't think I've seen I mean, I know I haven't. I would remember that. So.
Well, I'm a rom-com girl, and I think you
Oh yeah,
are too.
I am.
So
Yeah.
well, we're talking about the Avengers because this group of dads Catherine met have named their group the Dad Avengers, and it's basically a dad support group. So it's like a community of fathers. They've got an online presence, but they've also started getting together in person for something that they call dad walks,
Mm.
where they meet up in person with other fathers just looking for that community, and they go on walks together. So Catherine met them in Arnos Grove, London last week. She joined their dad walk, and she was really there to help bring awareness to the importance of the role of fathers in children's early years of life. So the group prioritizes, obviously, the mental health of fathers. They provide training for dads that, need some additional resources. And we know this is an important issue to the Waleses. So I thought it was really interesting that she came to this event. While she was there, the group also gathered in a local pub, and I saw some photos from this. They had a singer lead the group in the Wheels on the Bus, and you can see Catherine. She's got like maracas in her hand, and is shaking and enjoying the performance. So that was really fun to see.
Yeah, she was getting down a little bit. I appreciated that little like unwound Kate.
Well, I want to know your thoughts on this event. And okay, I have to say, I do really, I love how she highlighted the importance of dads in the lives of young children. And I do think this makes perfect sense for her to join up with this group with the alignment of the Early Years Project. But for me, I couldn't help but wonder why this wasn't scheduled on a day when Prince William could have joined. And I'm not, can't remember the exact day and if he had anything going on, but
I can tell you in
he
just a minute.
well, please do. So we know he is a dad of 3 young children. We know he prioritizes time with them. And I feel like this would have been a great opportunity for him to come and maybe provide some inspiration for this group, maybe have conversations kind of relating with some of the challenges that dads might face when they're, trying to make time for their families, balance with their careers, providing for the home. So I would have loved to have seen him there as well. But what did you think?
Well, I completely agree with your take there. And I think it kind of seems like a missed opportunity, right? Because William isn't just a dad for show. Like he really is a hands-on dad. Like he does the school run. I mean, and you can tell that because of the way that the kids look at him, right? Like if he was a removed and distant dad just putting on a show for the cameras, you kids don't lie. I mean, as we're about to talk about in our next news item, kids do not lie. And so, but you can tell that he is very much a hands-on dad, the way they look at him, the way they interact with him. So that day I can answer your question. It was November 1st. William was conducting an investiture ceremony, but you are
Okay.
right. But the event with the dad walk event could have been scheduled on a day when he could have attended. I mean, I guess like I don't know the ins and outs of the royal diary, but I mean, yeah, I feel like that kind of seems like a missed opportunity as well. But maybe Kate did it by herself to highlight the strong importance of this, like that she wanted to be the one like that was saying this is so important for early years
Mhm.
development. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know where he was at an investiture.
Okay. Well, either way, it was an interesting event, and I liked that they brought some awareness to that group and kind of, what they've got going on there.
Yeah. Well, the next day was Thursday, November 2nd, and William and Kate undertook their first joint engagement since returning from autumn break. So we teased this last week. They went to Scotland. They wore matching green jackets. They wore their poppy pins. It's November now. November 11th is this week, and that is the day of remembrance. Those poppy pins, we've talked about this, I know, I'm sure, on the show before, but if you're wondering what are these red poppy pins, what do they mean? They honor lives lost in wars. So Kate wore some flared jeans and she's got her feathered hair. She looked right out of the 70s, vision
I
straight out of 1976 or something like that.
I have to say, I just want to throw this out there. A lot of people have been chatting about her jeans and wanting to, have a pair of her jeans. I would like to say that I have a pair of these jeans and I've had them for quite a while now. So I like to think that she somehow discovered Podcast Royal and I influenced her and, and I was
Obviously.
now inspiration.
Because she can totally see what jeans you're wearing through the podcast because
Yeah, I'm totally kidding, but it is always fun when you have something like that and you don't have to be part of the scramble to go out and buy it before it sells out.
that's so cool to be like on the front end of that trend. I'm not sure I've ever been on the front end of something Kate's worn, but I we digress. So the visit to Scotland was to learn how children can be supported in their mental health through the great outdoors. So to that end, William and Kate rode some bicycles. There was actually a really adorable moment. I mean, it's not adorable that the little boy fell off his bicycle and was crying. That's not cute, but he did.
Aw.
The adorable moment was Kate hopped right into mom mode. She bent down to his level. She told him he was brave and she encouraged him to give it another go. But okay, so that's cute and everything. But William and Kate both said some puzzling things while in Scotland that I want to make mention of here, because the thing that Kate said kind of bothered me. So okay, let's start with Kate. So she was asked by, and I love it when they do engagements where they do walkabouts with kids, because kids do not care. They will say whatever, and it makes me laugh because they're so uninhibited. Well, for example, so the school kid asks Kate who she is, which is like awesome and totally on
Humbling
point.
moment there.
It's like, who are you, and why are all these people here for you, and why are all these cameras here for you? So anyway, so it's that's fair, I guess. But Kate's answer to the question was weird to me. So she said, I'm married to William. That was her answer to who she is. I mean, she could have said the Princess of Wales. In Scotland, there she's the Duchess of Rothesay, which I might be mispronouncing, but I don't I don't like that we as women, sorry, I'm going to get on my soapbox for like 1 second. I don't like that we as women become XYZ's wife or XYZ's mom or associate ourselves with our career. Like, I'm a writer, and or XYZ's daughter or whatever. Like we just, who are we as women anyway? That's a whole other podcast. But then she pointed to William after she said that. So if this were like the EarthShot Prize Awards, which are happening literally today, or at an engagement that William was spearheading or one of his patronages, I could maybe understand that response. But it was a joint engagement. It wasn't either of their patronage. It was an equal billing basically. So I really did not get that. And it just felt to me like Kate was being a bit reductive of herself. And it is true.
Okay. I have a little bit different take than you on this.
Okay,
I
go for it.
actually kind of love it. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's cute. I of course I think it's kind of romantic, right? And she's married to William, but William's also married to her.
Would
But
William answer the question, I'm Kate's husband? I don't know.
well, but it kind of, so you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that time when Queen Elizabeth, I think she was around Balmoral or something, and someone walked up to her and said, have you seen the Queen? Or, they made a comment like that, like they were wanting to meet the Queen, and she was standing there with oh gosh, who was it? Angela Kelly, or it was somebody that she was standing there with, and she said, no, or oh, I think he said, have you met the Queen before? And she goes, I haven't, but she has, and pointed to, the person standing next to her. And, the tourists like had no idea that they were actually talking to the Queen. And it was kind of hilarious. Like,
How do you
she could have
not
said,
know
I'm the
that?
Queen.
Like,
Yeah, I've heard this story before. I'm
like
trying to
I'm not
remember.
sure how that's possible, but I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, I mean, it's really much ado about nothing. It's not that serious, but like women, we are more than our husbands. We are more than our children. We are our own independent people. Who are you, Jessica? Who am I? Right. Anyway, but then
I don't know. I kind of liked it. I thought it was
I mean,
super fun.
it is, I'm a romantic, it's cute and whatever, but I'm also like, Kate, you are amazing. Like out, like with or without William, like
It
you
just
are awesome and you are
I
more
think it
than the
kind of
sum of
goes
his
back
parts.
to though, like her not, like she doesn't really have to toot her own horn. Like she's comfortable with who she is and she doesn't
Yeah,
have to say
sure.
I mean, I don't know. I like it. I think it was a really personable thing for her to say.
I'll just say it wasn't what I was expecting, but maybe she didn't say Princess of Wales because they obviously don't know what that means. They don't know who they are, which
Well,
I think is kind of awesome and like
it
a little bit
also
humbling.
I think it points to like how strong their relationship is too. Like, I mean, if she kind of sees part of her identity as being half of him, like, or a half of a part with him, like, I
I
don't know.
want to hear listeners' response to this because I don't know why this bothered me so much because it really did. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, it's again not that serious, and she's not wrong. She is William's wife, but I just think she's so much more than that.
All
Like
right,
she's
we'll
so
poll
much
the
more than
audience.
that. Pull
We'll ask.
people, pull people, and see if that bothered them. Because maybe I'm just out to lunch over here, but it kind of got under my skin. And not, I mean, I didn't lose sleep over it. But William also had a weird response to a kid's question of his own on the same visit in Scotland. So the kid asked if this kid is a budding journalist, this kid needs to go to J school and like be the next Diane Sawyer or whatever. But the kid asked if it was tricky being a prince, which is kind of a tough question. Like that's like for William, that's like, how do you navigate that? It's a loaded question. The kid, again, should go into journalism probably, but William's response is a little bit nonsensical. He kind of took it a direction, again, I was not expecting. He responded, is it tricky being a prince? It's tricky being a pilot. How is that for an answer? So, I mean, I guess he was referring to, he was a helicopter pilot. That was an artful dodge there, William. Same visit, a kid. I love these kid visits. Like, can we do this more often? Because they say what, like, they do not, like, they have no filter. So a kid asked William how old he was, and William made the very dangerous move of asking the kid how old the kid thought William was, which is like, could pretty much always turn out badly. The kid guessed 57, which William is 41. So he aged him 16 years in a second. William was really cute. He feigned horror and shock, and he said, I'm not that old. So again, kids say the darndest things. And I don't know, I just, that was a weird, that was like, their responses on that visit were interesting. So I really want to see the poll of what you guys think of that, and if I'm overreacting, which I very well may be, but let us know what you think.
I am entertained by unexpected responses in general. I think they always kind of make me laugh. But, I don't know what Prince William was pointing to. I don't know what they had talked about before that question, if he had told the kids that he had been a helicopter pilot, or kind of where that answer came from. But it kind of seems in line with Kate, where they're getting down on this level as kids and trying to point away from this like status of being a prince and princess, and just saying like, hey, like, if you grow up and you be a pilot one day, that's a tricky job too. I've done that before, and kind of taking it off of the, yeah, I'm a prince, I'm a princess, and just talking about other parts of life. So I wonder if that's what they were doing, or if they were
Who
just
knows? I just have to
playing
say
around
that
with
they were
it.
unexpected responses.
They were definitely unexpected for sure. If you love podcasts and dream about creating your own, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we have really enjoyed exploring features like Q&A, polls, and all the ways we can be really creative. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app, or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Okay, well, let's take a break from the Waleses and let's hop back over to, we mentioned Princess Anne a little while ago. So I want to share a little glimpse of her that we got this last week. She honored her mother, the late Queen Elizabeth, and I thought it was worth a mention because it was, like I said, just really sweet. So Princess Anne attended the Grande Choral Evensong service at Temple Church in London, and she wore the Admiral's cloak, which belonged to the late Queen Elizabeth. And there are actually a few photos of the Queen wearing the cloak. If you go look online, you can find them. One which was taken, I believe, in 1968. So this is, a pretty old cloak, and we know Anne loves bringing back a vintage piece, which I think is really cool. I like seeing her do this, and I think a lot of people enjoy seeing the older pieces come out. And again, what we were talking about with rewears, I enjoy bringing a rewear out that we haven't seen in quite a while. So wanted to mention that at the choral service, she read a passage from the Bible. The verses were from 1 Corinthians. Listeners are probably familiar with this verse. I think it's chapter 13, where she says, she read, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, I have not charity, I become as sounding brass, or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing.
Mm.
So she read that passage. She had the cloak on that belonged to her mother, and a passage from First Corinthians was also read at her mother's funeral. So
Wow.
anyway, I just thought that was an interesting little sighting that we saw
I'm
recently.
glad you mentioned that because I actually missed that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And always good to have. I think that's probably the first time we've ever read a Bible passage on, maybe not, I don't know, but glad to hear it. So total right turn again. We are going to be all over the place in this royal rundown. So just as his parents can seemingly undertake anything, the Wales trio, especially George, seem to be much the same. So George is casual, right? He's 10. He's doing triathlons now. Like, what the heck? Like, what is in the water at Adelaide Cottage? Like, they're like, I've never like, we had this conversation, and I'm not going to get into this because we've had this conversation on air about how, like, I have like one hobby, and that's reading. I mean, I guess I like to travel, I paint sometimes, but like, I just am not someone that can like pick up a skill and do it flawlessly. And I just feel like they can like be like, oh, I think I'll run a try or do a triathlon today. And like that's like climbing Mount Everest for me. But anyway, so George is 10. So we've long known he's been interested in sport. But as I am proof positive of, just because you're interested in sport does not mean you are good at sport. But George actually is a talented athlete. He plays rugby, he plays soccer. Apparently, he's now doing triathlons. And we learned a little anecdote from the investiture that William did that George is sharing his talcum powder with his friends. And the talcum powder was a tip he got from one of William's staffers. So George just continues to impress. And we're going to move now into the Kenya trip. So we're not going to go engagement by engagement over the 4 days because we would be here all night. But the Kenya trip that King Charles and Queen Camilla undertook has wrapped up as anticipated. I knew that this was going to happen. So we recorded the last episode on Halloween. And that night, Charles and Camilla went to a state banquet, and he made those remarks. If you want to hear that, you can listen to the last episode. I said on the last episode that I thought that those remarks would be the closest that Charles came in the visit to apologizing for colonization. And I was right. Because I mean, if he said anything else, I missed it, but I don't think he did. So I did not know this. Again, a total right turn here. But did you know that Camilla doesn't have her ears pierced?
I don't think I did know that.
I didn't either. And so I didn't get my ears pierced until I was 18. And I've had my ears pierced, I think 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
So
wow.
the reason for that is because if I don't wear earrings in my ears every day, one of them stays open, but the other one closes up really quickly, like within a week or a couple days. So I have to keep getting them re-pierced because like, or I could just rock one earring, but that's weird. And so one of them is closed right now. So I actually need to get my ears pierced for a fifth time. What? Like,
Are
what
you not
the
are you
heck?
not able to just push it through with an earring? Like they really
I
close
don't
up
want to. Like, I don't, I'm scared. Like, I'm a wimp, I guess. But like, I've tried, like, and one of them, the whole is sorry, like, sorry, listeners, but like, here we go. But like, one of them is fine, but the other one, like, it's just like, I probably could push through. And like it, but it's just like that little bit of extra push that I just can't do. It just grosses me out. So I need to probably go. But Claire's declared bankruptcy. So where am I going to go get my ears pierced anyway?
Look, Rachel, come over here. We'll do the parent trap. I'll get an apple and a needle and some ice.
No,
And
I that's why it took me until I was 18 to get them pierced because I was scared. And I mean, I'm not scared to do it anymore. I've done it 4 doggone times, but like I just anyway, we'll figure I want to wear earrings again, so I need to prioritize that. But lots of things have been going on over here, and piercing my ears have not been the priority. So, anyway, all of this unnecessary information is to tell you that Camilla wore her wedding day earrings while in Kenya, which I guess are clip-ons. I don't know. She doesn't have her ears pierced. The earrings are diamond floral studs with a pearl drop. And again, the engagements while in Kenya were numerous. We're not trying to like gloss over the Kenya trip. It was meaningful, and it was 4 days, and there's going to be more visits like them. again, we will just be here all night if we go through them all one by one. I personally loved seeing all the animals on this tour because
Me
we've made
too.
no bones about that we love animals on this show. Camilla baby fed bottle fed a baby elephant. They visited Nairobi, Mombasa. I want to go to Kenya. Charles had a really sweet quip about Kate where he called her his beloved daughter in law, and because he was talking about her because Kenya is where William proposed. The visit seemed to go off well. I really haven't heard any rampant criticism over the King's speech and on at the state banquet that night. Not the King's speech like the state opening of Parliament, but the King's speech in Kenya. He did toe the line as far as an apology. He did not quite step over it, and I think that these are how visits are going to go. They're just going to be pretty standard, and they go to a lot of places and it's meaningful, and then they're done. So they're back from Kenya. So do you have any thoughts on the Kenya visit?
I totally agree with you. I think overall this trip was a success. I think their choice in location was really thoughtful and a great choice. You know, we've talked before, Kenya is meaningful to the royals on a lot of different levels. They've got a lot of memories there. I also enjoyed the different engagements that they went on. The baby elephant. I think I shared a
Mhm.
picture on our Instagram of Camilla petting a little puppy dog while she was
Yeah.
there. Just a lot of, kind of fun, different things to follow along with. And to your point, I haven't seen a lot of criticism or anything. I think it was received very well. And I would call it a success.
I would too. And I guess the Charles's words satisfied because I didn't really hear much blowback afterwards, but I knew that night last Tuesday that that was all we were going to hear because he did go there I mean he didn't step over the line, but he went there, he addressed it, but I just didn't think that we would hear anything more about it, and we didn't. So
All right. Moving on from Kenya, it is now time to hop on the jet and go visit Prince William in Singapore. So, as we've mentioned, Prince William is there for the EarthShot Prize Awards, and he did actually confirm in a speech the reason he is there solo, which was what we all guessed. Catherine did stay behind to help Prince George prepare for some exams. So he's been over there. I think they actually just wrapped up the EarthShot Prize
mhm.
Awards, and they did roll out the famous green carpet for this event, which I really love seeing. I think the green carpet is such a fun element for the theme for this event.
I've been on
And
that green carpet, just saying. Like I wish I was in Singapore right now, but I'm not.
I know that would be so cool. I did want to
Instead I'm
hear,
in Missouri. So
well,
quite a right turn from Singapore. I am not in Singapore, I'm in Missouri. So
I was curious about your take on this, as you were there in person last year and you weren't this year. So how did that feel different from the reporting perspective? But we can chat about that in a second. So Prince William was joined by some true stars. Kate Blanchett was in attendance, as well as Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso.
yes, I love Ted
Um,
Lasso.
so, real quick about EarthShot Prize for any listeners who may be newly following the Royals or following this event, this year's winners were selected from more than 1,100 entries. They were by individuals who were looking to solve for environmental issues and setbacks. And there are 5 categories to the EarthShot Prize: air, nature, ocean, waste, and climate. And $1.2 million is being awarded to the winner across those categories. So the winners were presented at the awards ceremony. We did get a photo of Prince William with all of the award recipients. And I will say, if you are in the US, you will be able to watch the ceremony on PBS this Sunday, November 12th, if you're interested in doing that. So tell me your takeaways, Rachel. What was your perspective this year?
Well, I'll just say this. If I was going to go to the Earthshot Prize Awards any year, I'm glad I went in a year where Kate was there because
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
like I would have been really sad to, I mean, William's fine and more than enough, but I think I was exactly where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there. Although I would love to be in Singapore. We'll see where it is next year. Maybe that can happen, who knows. But I loved this. There's this moment, this viral moment where the baby bit William's finger. Did you see this?
I miss that.
Oh, it's so cute. You need to
How
go
did
find
I miss
it.
a viral moment too?
Yes. So to my point earlier that William is a great dad and great with kids, he handled this so well. So a baby that he met on a walkabout hung onto his hand, and he even tried to put William's finger in his mouth. And William just laughed and he said, "I need my finger. I need my finger back." It was a lot cuter the way that William said it than what I just did. But William is very charming, and just like Kate, he's really good with kids. So you need to check that out because that's a cute moment.
I definitely will.
Well, since our last episode, Kate shared a powerful message on addiction through her patronage with the Forward Trust. So the message came out as Addiction Awareness Week was coming to a close. I just want to highlight briefly Kate's stance here, where she says, correctly, in my opinion, that addiction is not a choice. And I know we talk about the crowns and the outfits and the pomp and circumstance of royalty, but this kind of on the ground work is really what makes up the core of who the royal family is, I think. And briefly, I feel like we'd be remiss, and you listeners would be like, hello, is your finger on the pulse, if we didn't throw this story in here because it is news, even though I feel like it's a little bit none of our business whether Harry is attending his dad's birthday party. But as we've said on the show more than once, Charles turned 75 on November 14th. That's what I would consider a milestone birthday. The royals are actually not really big on birthdays, but to mark the occasion, because it is a milestone, Camilla is having a small party for family and close friends at Clarence House, which is where they live in London. So over the weekend, the Sunday Times reported that Harry was invited to the party but declined the invitation. And a spokesperson for Harry spoke out and said, no, Harry didn't decline because he hadn't yet been invited, and that he found out about the party in the media. So now you know. And the drama continues. I don't want to park there. So let's talk about one of our favorite royals, and that's Sophie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Unless you have thoughts on that.
well, before we jump over, I will say, I mean, Charles has had some big birthday celebrations in the past, if I recall. So, I guess maybe they're doing something a little bit smaller this year. But I mean, this just kind of tells me that we don't really know the whole story, right? Behind the
Well, yeah,
scenes.
and then you report it out and like you trust a news source, right? And then you realize that they got it wrong. And I will say that this is indicative of what 5 years can do, because for Charles's 70th birthday, which was in 2018, Harry and Meghan delayed their honeymoon to make sure to be there for his birthday celebrations. Now here we are with 75, and a lot has happened in 5 years. We'll just say that. So I mean, I've said this once, I've said it a million times, continue to pray for reconciliation. They are family at the end of the day. And that seems pretty far away today, but I'm still an eternal optimist, hoping for the best.
Well, I just think that we have to remember every time an event like this comes around, there's always some kind of chatter in the media about who was invited, who declined, what's the drama. Something like this always seems to pop up. And I think we have to be really careful when we read reports as to how things are worded, because I think they can be a little bit manipulative sometimes. Like, saying like he didn't decline because he hasn't yet been invited and he found out about it in the media. I mean, you know, I don't know. We don't know what that really means. Not yet invited. I mean, does that mean that,
Those
his
were my
invitation
those
is
were
in the
my
mail?
words. Jessica, those were my words. Not
Oh,
that
I thought you said a spokesperson
well, the
said that.
spokesperson said that, but I'm like paraphrasing. That's not a direct quote. Like the spokesperson said that Harry had not been invited.
Okay. See, yeah. So Harry had not been invited. Okay. So I mean, yeah, we don't know what that means. He may be getting invited at, we don't know. So it's just hard to speculate on stuff like that. But to your point, definitely praying for reconciliation, because family is really important there. But yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts on that. So we can move on to the Duchess of Edinburgh and her travels to Canada.
Okay, go for it.
So last week we said, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, would be traveling to Canada for an official visit. And we do have a few updates from her trip. So on Saturday, she attended the Countess of Wessex Cup, named after the Countess of Wessex, of course, a title that she held before becoming the Duchess of Edinburgh. But this is a competition featuring a variety of military challenges. After the Countess of Wessex Cup, she attended a reception and a dinner gala for the Lincoln and Welland Regimental Foundation, and she wore a beautiful silver-toned gown by Erdem to this event, and I included a photo in our notes here,
Erdem
Rachel,
is
for you.
Canadian, by the way, so that's probably why she wore that. See, that's my kind of dress right there. I like that.
It's very pretty. We can include a photo on our Instagram of this as well. It's, it's conservative, but it's got just enough shimmer and sparkle that it catches your eye. So really great choice of a dress for Sophie, I think.
Yeah, and of course she's a diplomatic dresser like most royal women are, and she wore a Canadian designer in Canada. So checked every box there. I think that's beautiful. I like the belt too. I normally don't like belts, but I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that dress has to have a belt. I think it wouldn't
Yeah.
have been it wouldn't have had the same impact without the belt.
You
So,
can see her poppy pin too.
yep. Well, on Sunday, we did see her at the service of remembrance where she met with soldiers and their families. And I can't remember the designer of that dress. I'm trying to recall it, but it was like a navy velvet dress and hat she had on. I don't know if you saw those, Rachel, those photos. But anyway, overall, I think this was a successful trip. I really didn't see a ton of coverage on this one in the media. I saw a few stories. I kind of had to search them out. But the pictures were definitely fun. I just found the navy velvet dress she wore on Sunday is Susanna London, which is another name that we see
Ooh,
her wear
yeah,
quite a
that's
bit.
what Louise wore to the coronation, if I'm not, or was that Beulah London? I don't know. Somebody, no, I think it was Susanna London. Anyway, I'll have to
Well,
fact check
Sophie
that.
wears Susanna London fairly frequently as well,
Mhm,
I feel like. So
mhm.
anyway, yeah, that's all we've got on that event, but it looked like it was a success as well.
Sophie
And
is so underreported, and do you know why she is? It's because she's totally sane and tame and like just non-dramatic. So
yeah,
which is sad because like she does great work, but she's so non-drama that it all flies under the radar. So that's
but
why we talk about her.
and we've talked too about how she is such a hardworking royal. I mean, she's been traveling quite a lot lately as well. I mean, going all the way over to Canada, and she was just on a trip recently, a few weeks ago, that we reported on as well. So she is staying busy.
I love Sophie, but honestly, well, I don't know. I would say that she would be in my top two or three for royals that I want to have tea with because I just like her. Like I just feel like she would be really nice and really affable. And I'm glad that you love her too. So we always
Yeah.
bring her work to the spotlight.
Yes, for sure. Well, that wraps up our royal rundown. That was a lot to
That's
talk
a
about.
lot. That's a lot for 1 week. Like that felt like a 2 week lift back when we were on a every 2 week cadence. It was a busy week this week. Lots going on. I don't know if it'll be that, well, I guess it'll be Charles's birthday next week, but I don't think it'll be that heavy next week.
Well, let's do a real quick Royals Around the World segment. We've got something to report on here that I don't want to jump over. So, the Spanish Royals are in Denmark for an official visit this week. And we had another tiara moment the other night.
Mhm.
And we just had a lot of these lately between birthday parties and openings of parliament and all kinds of stuff. We've had a lot of royal jewels
This one
showing.
was major. This was a great crossover.
Definitely. So, okay, King Philippe and Queen Letizia of Spain arrived in Denmark on Monday. They were greeted by Queen Margaret, Crown Prince Frederick, and Crown Princess Mary of Denmark. And then later that evening, they held a state banquet at Christiansborg Palace where we got the long gowns and the tiaras. And I added some pictures here, Rachel. So we had Queen Letizia was in this navy ball gown, sort of like a little cap sleeve off the edge
I
of her
love
shoulder.
Letitia. My God, she's so beautiful.
She is, I mean, her fashion is incredible, I will say.
Impeccable. Yeah.
Um, she's got a pretty large tiara on, and then we've got Queen Margaret with a dark, like a hunter green gown, and her sleeves are like a lace sleeve, also really pretty. And then Crown Princess Mary is in sort of a grayish silver, almost like a blue gray silver toned
Mhm.
dress that's covered in embellishments, looks like little crystals and things all over the dress. So real quick, I want to ask, what was your initial take on the dress?
Well,
All the dresses.
first I want to say Christiansborg Palace is really getting its money's worth this month because they've had a lot going on there. And I love how we do royals around the world every week, so we know who these people are. They're not just like queen this, queen that. We talk about these people enough that hopefully listeners, you know who they are, because I love these royals just as much as the British royal family. But to your question, okay, Letitia just looks fantastic. Letitia is a royal and she keeps it very royal and classy and elegant, but she also adds, she's clearly a fashion girl. She adds a kick to it. And I really love the cap sleeves here. It would not be something I would wear, but she looks fantastic. That color's great. Okay, Mark Reth, what are you doing with your skincare? Because you look fantastic.
I know she
like
does.
she does not look, I mean, she's been on the throne for 50 years. So she's, I can't tell you exactly how old she is right off the top of my head. She's in her 70s, I think. And she looks amazing. That is a gorgeous dress and a gorgeous color. I love this color on me. I mean, this is a triple knockout. Boom, boom, boom. And sometimes I don't like the dresses, and I tell you when I don't. But these three are like, we've got some really good fashion this week. Sophie did great. These three women look amazing. I mean, just boom, boom,
Okay,
boom. So
so I
good. What do
will
you
point
think?
out, none of these gowns were new. They were all rewears. And it seems to me like more and more of our royals are choosing to bring out gowns from their wardrobe that they've worn in the past and recycle
That's
them, whether they
interesting. I
change
didn't know
them a
that.
little, yeah, or they just rewear them as is, rather than, going out and purchasing something new for every occasion. So I think they're really selective and intentional about what they choose to rewear and what they want to purchase new. I will say I love the reveal of a new gown. It is so fun and exciting to see what they're gonna show us. But I also really, to your point, love recycling the really beautiful
Mm-hmm.
dresses. And I think these dresses are so carefully crafted and
Mm-hmm.
they're so beautiful and they're so expensive. I think it makes sense to bring them out again rather than wearing them once and tucking them away forever. And I think it gives us non-royals permission to do the same. Purchase a
Absolutely.
really nice dress and wear it more than once.
Okay, so I looked this up while you were speaking. Look at this picture of Margaret, the close up one. How old do you think she is, Jessica? We're going to play a
I
principal, as
was
you
thinking
say.
she was in her early 80s, but
You're right, but I think she looks younger than that. She's 83, and I think she looks fantastic. Also, with these closer up photos, the jewelry here, like look at Letitia's crown and look at
okay,
her
so
earrings.
I do have a
Beautiful.
hot take on this. I think Letitia's tiara is maybe a little too big for the
It's
stick.
pretty big. It's I don't like, there should be like some protocol because I write royal protocol in my spare time, but there should be some protocol where if you're the visitor, your your tiara should not be bigger than your host. And
And
it
the queen, yeah.
definitely it definitely that is a large tiara. I wonder how much that
Yes.
weighs.
I
But
don't know, but I think it should have been scaled down a little bit.
well, and her earrings are beautiful. Mary's is understated. And then Margret's got some emeralds on, man. She's got like a massive emerald necklace going on and some earrings too. I always thought the rule, and again, we're digressing like all over the place in this episode, but I always heard the rule that if you have a statement necklace like she has, then you shouldn't wear statement earrings too. And I mean, Margrethe has a tiara. She's got some statement earrings. She's got some statement necklace. She's got what looks like some kind of like a medal on. So she's
Mm.
all blinged out over there. But I mean, whatever she's doing with her skincare routine, she looks amazing.
Yeah, no, yeah, they all look great. I love all of the jewels. I love all of the dresses.
Yeah,
Really,
that's a
really fun.
knockout right there. That's boom, boom, boom.
Well, other activities on the agenda for this trip include a meeting focused on green energy, a visit to a hospital, a visit to the Danish Architectural Center that's going to be focused on sustainable developments in big and growing cities. And they'll also attend an event for Spanish people residing in Denmark.
Mm.
And I will note this is the first time Spanish royals have done an official state visit to Denmark since 1980. And so
Wow.
it's been quite a while, and it's shaping up to be a pretty successful trip, I think.
Yeah, I love a good crossover. And you never know which ones you're gonna get. Like you never like it's always a little bit unexpected, which which family's going to go to which family. And I do love a good Royals Around the World
Well,
crossover.
and I didn't put this in the notes, but I just remembered I noticed and I shared it on our Instagram. We've talked about before all of the tie-ins with godparents in the royals.
Yeah.
So King Philippe of Spain is actually godfather to Prince Vincent of Denmark, and they had a photo together that they
Oh,
shared
that's
on
cute.
Instagram today, and I shared that in our story. So listeners, go check that out.
That's cute. Again, we love these families. And let me move into our final segment, which is our Royals Around the World Factoid of the Week. This week's Royals Around the World Factoid takes us to Monaco, which listeners, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that is one of my favorite royal families from around the world. Think you like them too. We did, I think, an entire deep dive on Monaco in episode 19. I say go back and listen to it, but God probably don't. That was a long time ago. There's been almost 100 podcast episodes since that. That's crazy. So Monica's royal family is probably truly perhaps defined by Grace Kelly, who, if you don't know who Grace Kelly is, she's an Oscar-winning actress. She's an American. She met Prince Rainier at the Cannes Film Festival back in 1955. They were kind of set up. It was kind of a weird situation, but they married a year later. And this really was a love match. Like, this wasn't a Charles and Diana situation where like I don't think that I think anybody would agree with me that Charles and Diana were not the loves of each other's lives, and they probably should not have gotten married. They didn't really know each other that well, but this really was a love match. So here's a fun fact for you. Both Grace and Rainier's legal and religious wedding ceremonies were broadcast by MGM. MGM was her film studio that Grace Kelly was with at the time. That was a deal brokered so that Grace Kelly could buy out of her contract with them. Isn't that interesting? Because
Yeah.
she was under contract with them, and then she wanted to go get married and move to Monaco and stop filming movies, stop making movies. And so they were like, okay, we'll let you out of your contract, but we've got to have the rights to your wedding and we've got to film it. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then, I mean, again, like Harry's not the heir to the throne. He was actually on the throne at the time, but it's just like a lot of American actress parallels happening here, but that I'm thinking about. But another fun fact. So I didn't know this until I was researching for this segment, but and I've studied the Monaco royal family pretty closely, but Grace carried a pearl encrusted Bible with her down the aisle. And in 2005, a lucky penny was discovered in her right shoe that she wore. It took them that long to find it, all those years later. So their first child, Princess Caroline, was born, get this, 9 months and 4 days after their wedding day. So cutting it a little close there, guys, but you got it. They went on to have two more children, Prince Albert, who's on the throne now, and Princess Stephanie. Stephanie was beside her mother in the 1982 car accident that ended up taking Princess Grace's life, obviously far too prematurely. I still think that one of the most eerie things is one of the 400 guests at Grace's funeral was a very young Princess Diana, only about a year after she married Prince Charles. Diana, of course, along with the rest of us, had no idea, obviously, that she would also die in a car accident 15 years later. I don't know if this is a fun fact, but Rainier smoked 60, that's 60 cigarettes a day. So perhaps, not surprisingly, I'm not making light of this, he died of a lung infection. So I will round this out with a couple of factoids about Prince Albert, who again is on the throne. In addition to his twins with Princess Charlene, he also had two children out of wedlock, Jasmine, born in 1992, and Alexander, born in 2003. So Prince Albert had a really long bachelorhood. Like, we didn't know for a while if he was ever going to get married. He married when he was 53. And because both of his children prior to the marriage were born out of wedlock, and Monaco's line of succession doesn't recognize that, there was some succession issue concerns for a long time if he never did get married and have children within a marriage. So I actually did not know this about Albert, but did you know that? So we knew Charlene is an Olympian. She was an Olympic swimmer for South Africa, but did you know Albert is an Olympian too, a 5-time Olympian?
I did not know that.
And he competed in the bobsleigh. So that's interesting. So there are your factoids about the Monaco royal family. Did you learn anything today?
I mean, I feel like I learned a lot. I'm still hung up on 60 cigarettes a day.
It was a different time,
I
but
mean, I've heard
that's a
of
lot of
chain
cigarettes.
smoking, but that is like a mouthful all at once, probably.
That's a lot of cigarettes. Do not recommend, listeners. But I love this family. I think that Rainier and Grace's love story, it really was a true love match. And it's just, again, like, I mean, Grace wasn't really a commoner. She was an Academy Award winning actress, but she was not royalty and she was American. And I mentioned a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, that she's from Philadelphia. And so Albert actually owns property in Philadelphia and goes back there. And, it's just, she died far, far, far too young. And I think also Caroline's kids are absolutely beautiful. We talked about that. Like, I fangirled over Pierre Khosrai and pretty hard in episode 19. Just beautiful. Like, lots of, I mean, when the matriarch of the family is Grace Kelly, it's going to be a beautiful family. So we love the Monaco royal family. So we'll be back next week. We've got, I think, probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 more weeks of those factoids. So we hope you're enjoying them, listeners. All right. Well, anything else for the good of the order? That's episode 113.
No, it's been a full episode. Lots of fun stuff going on with the Royals right now. So I'm excited they're all back at work and busy and on the road. And we'll be back for more next time.
Well, next week is episode 114. We will be recording on November 14th. Jessica, that's the 3-year anniversary of Podcast Royal. So, preemptive cheers to 3 years. Podcast Royal is longer than most of my romantic relationships. So go us. Anyway, we will celebrate with you all next week. And you know what would be a great anniversary present? If you gave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and told the world via a review why you like us. And here's our rule for year 4. We're entering year 4, Jessica. That's crazy. If you don't like something, email us. We'll always email you back. If you do like something, please tell the world. It really, and I'm not kidding, it really does help our algorithm. So please give us a 5-star review and a rating, or what, mix match that, what, you know what I'm trying to say. And check out Instagram. Jessica kills this on Instagram. I'm kind of still on my social media detox a little bit, but every time I log on, there's great content there. So we are at Podcast Royal. Again, if you have questions or thoughts to share, you can always DM us on Instagram. You can always send us an email at hellopodcastroyal@gmail.com. We always get back to you. And that is episode 113 of Podcast Royal. Bye.
Bye.